All right. So I just rewatched Rocky 2 last night. And by saying rewatch, obviously that means I've watched it before and many times before. I've been watching these movies almost my entire life. But every time I rewatch, especially 1 and 2, I'm just impressed all over again by how fantastic those movies are. And of course, these movies have been beloved by many people for many years. They certainly don't need me to add to their praise, but I want to because I'm thinking about it, and it's nice to be able to praise things. So the first two Rocky movies, especially, well, I like 3 and 4 and 6. They all have their strengths, and I mean, 3 and 4 have um, their I like them. I enjoy them. They each have qualities that I like, and they each have things that are that can be criticized. Um, 6 is better than it has any right to be. And strangely enough, there is no 5. But one and 2 are just classics, and um, the main reason for that, of course, there's a lot of factors that go into a film being successful. The script, the the actors, the directing, the cinematography, the music, the editing, of course. A lot of stuff that comes together to make a movie work. And all those factors are in play here. But the main thing that really makes these movies so special, um, and is the core of them, is the characters. These are boxing movies, but they're not really. I mean, the main through line is boxing. The main character is a boxer, and you usually have a boxing match in each film. But really, the core of these movies is the characters, and that has allowed that the franchise to be so successful and be so beloved for so long. That's better in the shade. Um, and especially in the first movie, the it takes like 25 minutes, I think, to introduce all the main characters. Uh, and then another 5 or 6 minutes to actually get the main plot going for Apollo to make the offer to Rocky. That's a 2 hour movie. It's not a 9 hour epic like Lord of the Rings where you could kind of expect that it's probably going to take a while to set everything up. This is a 2 hour. It's taking a full quarter of the runtime to actually set things up. Uh, and yet, while you might think, well, that's slow, or they're taking too much time, they need to get with it. It's never boring. Um, the movie is doing its due diligence to make sure that the audience really connects with these characters, that these characters are properly introduced and they are improperly embraced. Um, and you know, it works like gangbusters. Um, and there even where there are scenes where they don't there are two basic plots, right, to both 1 and 2. One is of course the all the events leading up to the boxing match, and then there's the relationship between Rocky and Adrian. Those are the two main things going on, but then there might be scenes that don't have anything directly to do with that, but they're still adding to character, and they're still adding to the world. I mean, when you have the guys singing around the trash can, you don't need you can take that out of the film and it wouldn't affect the plot, but it's world building. Um, it's adding to the texture and um, the richness of that world, and it's bringing beauty into it. Those guys are bringing beauty and joy into the world by doing that singing. And then, of course, you have the scene where, say, Rocky is um, walking that girl home and giving her advice about smoking and using coarse language, and it's good advice. The whole they don't remember you, they remember the rep. You could take that out of the film, and it wouldn't affect the plot, the story, the main stories. But again, it's story, character building. It's showing us again just how good a guy Rocky is at heart. Um, and Rocky also, while he's a good guy at heart, and we automatically like him and continue to like him, um, he's not a perfect character either. Um, he's without Mickey, without Adrian, he can't. He's not really able to get his life together. um, he needs these people to really encourage him and to guide him, um, especially Adrian. And when you see in, um, especially 2 and 3, where Adrian is absolutely pivotal in Rocky being able to even train. Um, and these movies also, at least the first 2, maybe 3, there are no villains in these movies. Um, the Apollo Creed isn't a villain. He's not a bad dude. Uh, he's not perfect. He's not, he can be, he's got his pride. Um, but he's not a villain. He's still a likable dude. I mean, in Carl Weathers, it's kind of impossible to dislike any character that's played by Carl Weathers. Because Carl is just such a likable dude. He's a good-looking dude, dynamic dude, and may he rest in peace. He just passed away. But Apollo is not a villain. He's the challenge for Rocky. But not a bad guy. The closest we get to a villain in these films is Paulie. The alcoholic, abusive guy, especially when he's abusing his sister. It's really painful to watch. But Rocky keeps him around and still treats him with kindness, and that encourages us to keep giving Paulie more chances. But he's the closest we get to an actual villain in these things, even though he's not a villain. He's just the most flawed character. And what else can I say without making this run too long? Let me just say the build up in both 1 and 2 is great, and in 2, of course, it's amazing. Where when Rocky comes to Mickey and says, "I'm thinking about fighting again," and Mickey makes it very clear that's impossible. Your eyesight is limited here, very limited. You took a hell of a beating, and in your first bout with him, another bout with him will either permanently impair you seriously, or it will literally kill you. I mean, you can't do this. It's physically impossible. And he makes it very clear, and the audience buys it because it makes sense. And then a few minutes runtime later, after Mickey sees Apollo taunting on the TV, he comes to Rocky's place and is like, "I say we knock his block off." All it took was a little taunting for it to go from, "This is impossible," to "Let's do it." And that's kind of where Rocky enters kind of fantasy territory. The first Rocky movie was believable. The second movie works very well dramatically, but it's a little bit unrealistic as far as the physics go. And then it gets really, really into the fantasy realm with 3, where Rocky is. I mean, it's still acknowledging that Rocky has been compromised somewhat. That Mickey's putting him up against fighters that aren't going to be that much of a challenge to him, because he's not going to be able to take that much of a challenge, except he winds up actually being capable of taking taking care of that much of a challenge, and even in 4 defeating this machine of a guy who killed Apollo in 2 rounds. Um, but but then, of course, Adrian goes into a coma, and um, that saps all of whatever energy Rocky had at that point. It's gone. His full concern, his full energy is focused on his wife. And then, of course, she wakes up. They see their child for the first time together. And then Adrian says, I want you to do one thing for me. Win. Win. And then the music starts kicking in, and then Mickey's like, what are we waiting for? And I tell you what, watching it last night, not only did I tear up, but I started shaking with emotion. I mean, that moment works so well, and that it kicks the movie into high. You're for several minutes you're watching Rocky be concerned about his wife in a coma, and for several minutes nothing's actually happening except waiting to see what happens with Adrian, and then all of a sudden the movie kicks into high gear, and you get the training, the music, and it's so rousing, so inspirational, and it just makes you makes you just want to jump up and run around, and try to do one-handed push-ups and stuff. These movies they've got great characters. The actors do a fantastic job. There's got great acting, and the love story between Rocky and Adrian is wonderful. These movies are inspirational and just well done. They're more than just 70s movies or 80s movies. They're timeless, especially the first 2. Very timeless movies that continue to hold up, continue to be enjoyable, continue to be inspirational, and everyone knows that. Everyone loves these movies for good reason. But I just was rewatching them, or rewatching that one, and was just like, man, that's so good. And I just wanted to say, these are really good movies. And let's not forget that Sylvester Stallone wrote them. I think sometimes Stallone doesn't give enough credit for how good a writer he can be. And he directed all but the first one. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for listening. Go watch some Rocky.